You're listening to the Working Joe's podcast, starring Ralph Wolf and Zack. Download the podcast on iTunes, or for Android, use Podcast Addict or Stitcher. For more information, you can visit WorkingJoesRoundtable.com.
So what's going on, Zack?
Well, you know what, Ralph? I'm just chilling out here, relaxing, shooting some b-ball outside of my school.
Outside your school?
A couple of guys are up no good, started to make trouble in my neighborhood.
That's Fresh
No, that's Fresh Prince's theme song.
Oh.
You remember that show, right?
I remember. I watched some of it on Facebook the other day, some of the clips.
Oh, yeah, so did I. That's probably why I was thinking about it.
When the uncle was he was a pool hustler.
Oh, that's a good one, man. That episode, I remember seeing that one.
Yeah, the pool hustler won the car from Will Smith.
Mm-hmm.
And he had to break it to his uncle, and his uncle went down there and lost like 2 games.
Yeah.
You know? He said, all right. I said, what did he call that pool stick?
Oh, I know exactly. Hey, let me take care of it for you.
Yeah, do it.
The guy comes up and says, how about we raise the stakes? $100 a ball. And he goes, $100 a ball? That's right, Uncle Phil. Okay.
Yep.
He says, Jeffrey, break out Lucille.
There you go. That was word for word.
And they started playing like Soul Man or something like that.
Yeah. He kicked their ass.
Oh, it was a really good show. I remember watching that when it aired back in like 1991 or 92. It was great.
Yeah. I just saw that on Facebook. That was great.
It's fantastic. It's not HVAC related, but man, it was great.
Yeah, it was fun.
So
anyway, you had anything interesting going on?
Me this week, just regular service stuff. Nothing really special happened to me. So I hope something special happened to you.
Well, I had a couple of special things happen. I had a home warranty debacle or the YouTube frenzy.
Oh, can we do both, or do I have to pick one?
Well, we can do both, or we can do one, and we can save the other one for another intro.
Well, okay. If we're doing that, then I'm going to pick. Let's go with the home warranty.
The home warranty debacle.
Yes.
All right. Good choice.
Thank you.
So I have this customer that I've been taking care of for several years. And it's 2 twin girls live together. They're like 40 years old. No, they're not quite that old. But anyway, they've been living in the same house for 16 years. They've been paying for their home warranty of $55 a month for 16 years. They paid this company $10,500 over the years, right? And as you know, they probably haven't used, 60% of that.
Sure.
So the girl called me and says, she texted me the other day, and she said, what? She texted me and she was like, do you know any duct cleaners? And I was like, yeah. And she said, oh, and by the way, my air's been out for 2 days with the thing at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, what the hell? So I call her up because I'm not going to text all this. So I call her up. I said, what's the problem? What? Your air's out for 2 days? Why didn't you call me? She's like, well, the homeowners, we've been waiting for the homeowners, and it's probably going to be Tuesday before they can get back with us. And I was like, what do you mean homeowners? And she's like, well, we pay for this thing. I was like, a home warranty? She said, yeah, home warranty. That's it. I was like, wait a second. They're going to make you wait till Tuesday? Well, yeah. And I said, well, just let me come out tomorrow. And if it's something inexpensive, I'll just go ahead and take care of it for you. She's like, okay. Would you do that? Oh, we would love it. So I go out there the next day, find the compressor bad.
Oh, no.
And I was like, oh, man. I put my gauges on it, and I'm like, 120 pounds of suction pressure, 140 pounds of high side pressure. And I was like, man, I hear the compressor running, but I took amps on it, and sure enough, it was running. I'm like, sorry to tell you, but this ain't inexpensive. You got a bad compressor.
I guess the home warranty guy's going to get a crack at it.
So now the home warranty guy's going to get a crack at it. So she's like, all right. So that was yesterday, which would be Friday. So she called me today and she said, yeah, the home warranty guy, they did get somebody come out here this morning and He said the same thing. It had a bad compressor, but I had changed the coil for them a few years ago, so the coil would match 14 series units. So all they had to do is just put a new coil. So the guy's like, okay. So she calls the home warranty company. They're on hold with them for hours. And when I pull up, they'd already been on the phone with them once. And then when I pull up, they're on the second phone call on hold, trying to get some kind of situation resolved. But, you know, of course, working with that kind of corporation, you're not going to get your issue resolved like you want it resolved, like you would call if they were to call me or you or whatever.
Right.
Because I could have picked up a unit from the supply house, you know, earlier that day and brought it to them. But the reason I went over there this morning was because she had called me and she said, yeah, they said the compressor is bad, but we bought this portable unit from Sam's Club so we could take it back after our air conditioner got it.
just like women. I'm just gonna return it when I'm done
well,
wearing it.
Well, the girl at the home warranty suggested they do that. Go to Sam's because they have a liberal exchange policy.
Oh god.
You know. So now that thing's going to go back and they're going to say, well, it didn't cool. So they're going to take back a good portable. So she was like, but I don't know where the condensate goes. So I'm thinking to myself, you don't. It just, you know. So I was like, I tell you what, you caught me at the right time. I'm not that far away from you. I'm just going to come by and hook it up for you. And, you know, pro bono, of course. And so, because I wanted to find out what the story was.
Right.
So I get back over to the house and I hook it for it. And she's like, that was all you had to do? I was like, well, yeah, that's it. You know, just run the little thing at the window and it hook a hose up to it and turn it on. Yeah. It took me like all of 2 minutes. Of course, I didn't put the screws in the window, you know, because they're going to take it out.
Right, yeah.
So I didn't secure the window in place or whatever. I just put that little across. Well, you know, you've hooked them up before.
Oh, sure.
And then so she's like, that was it? I said, yep. Now we just turn it on. And this is great. So I asked her, I said, so what did the guy tell you about what your charges were going to be that you were going to have to pay him? And she's like, well, I don't know. It's supposed to be like $60 that we're supposed to pay. I was like, did he leave you any paperwork? Oh, yeah. He left paperwork. Here it is. So I'm like, all right. So what are these charges on the left-hand side of the invoice here? Well, we're supposed to ask if the home warranty company is going to pay those. And I said, well, I can guarantee you they're not going to pay a permit fee of $125 or a recovery fee of $125. Oh, you're going to love this one. A pad leveling fee for $185.
Wow. I wonder if that's to cover the cement truck.
Oh, wow, I don't know. She said, and I told her, and I brought her out to the unit, you know, $125 for the whip. Of course, there's no duct modifications fee, but there's a disposal fee, a recovery fee, and a permit fee, a line flushing fee of $300. And so I totaled it up. I totaled it up for her. And I tried to hide my phone because I was going to make her guess how much all that stuff was going to cost her. Oh, yeah. You know, the $60 thing. And but I couldn't get my phone away from it fast enough. And she saw it. And I was like, her mouth dropped open. And I was like, yeah, that $1,100 is a long way from the $60 that you think you're going to have to pay.
Oh, yeah.
And so I broke it down to her. I said, look, this guy is going to charge you $1,100. He's going to get the unit for free, and you know the home warranty company's going to pay him, you know, $300, $400, $500 to install it. So now he's making $1,600, you know, off of you, and which is no big deal, you know, because she's going to have to pay it anyway. But she just was like, I can't believe we've been paying them for all these years, and this is what we get. You know, and their unit's like 17, 18 years old. Well, they've lived there. The house is 3 years old. So yeah, now I told them, I said, what you need to do now is take that $55 a month, put it in a separate account, and don't touch it. And that way you can pay for your own repairs. And you don't have to, because they said, man, this stuff is going to cause us to drink. We're just going to go get drunk tonight.
They can't afford it.
Because they can't afford it. Yeah, they can't afford it. So they were so irritated at the whole process. And then I was in there, I was just like agging it on. I was like, I was just jabbing because I'm trying to get the job. You know what I mean?
Oh, sure.
Because if I can take work away from the home, well, it's not going to hurt the home warranty company. But like I've always said, the guys that's doing the home warranty work are sort of dishonest. I took them over to the unit and I said, look, they're going to charge you $185 to put a brand new pad down to level a pad out. How can you even sleep at night? It's not a big hill neither. It's pretty level back there.
This goes back to like the Cowboys podcast where we were talking about this and saying those guys are put into a vice and they have to come up with all sorts of creative stuff to do.
Yeah. And I can't blame a guy for wanting to make a living. But be honest with people. Say, hey, look, they only pay me so much money, and I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not going to do all the different fees that the other guys come in here and try to shoot you. Like I told them that the disposal fee is the one I really love to tell them.
Yeah.
Hey, what the disposal? How we dispose of units? Either we take it to our house and we cut it up and we take it to the scrap yard and get paid for it, or we just take it to the supply house and put it next to the dumpster, and the scrap guy comes and picks it up.
Yeah.
That's your disposal. So you're going to pay $125 for the guy to take it to his house and cut it up
and make money.
So, oh man, by the time I left that house, they were fuming. There's nothing like a set of 38-year-old blonde-headed twins to get pissed off.
A lot of my things I've imagined have centered around 30-something-year-old blonde-headed twins.
Yeah, well, making them mad is not one of them, is it?
It was part of one of them.
Yeah. No, these girls are, I almost, I really do. They're not just some, a lot of times with some of these homeowners, it's not just a customer relationship. Sometimes it becomes, more of a friend relationship.
Yeah, you look out for people.
You look out for people, and it's tough to be in business and say, well, these guys are my friends, but they're also customers of mine. But it's more like looking out for them.
Well, that's what you had to do. That's what a lot of single man companies do. They look out for people a little bit different way because you have that one-on-one every time.
Right. Because you're the ones looking for them. I'm doing a job Monday where we're changing the system, and the guy got me off YouTube. I know this kind of gets into that frenzy thing, but
don't ruin the next one, Ralph.
No, I'm just gonna because I told the guys, like, look, I'm going to install the stuff for me, and he was like, well, are you gonna be here? Because I could hire a sub. So that's where that relationship thing comes in.
Yeah.
Us little small guys, unfortunately, we have that. We don't have the freedom to get away from some of these installs because they call you because they want you to do the work.
That's right.
And then when you tell them, hey, look, I have subs that do this work for me, they're just like, well, the last install I did, the guy was like, I don't care if you have somebody doing it for you, but you need to be here.
Yeah.
So I was there. I sat in my truck most of the job, because I'm paying these guys. I'm not going to go do the work for them while I'm paying them.
That's right.
So, I mean, I made an appearance every once in a while. But, yeah, home warranty, man, they're awful.
Yeah. They don't get painted in a very good light most of the time. I think they probably earned it. I don't deal with them. I've never even called one of them to do any of those little payouts or anything like that. I don't have much experience with them. Besides my customers, the buyouts. My customer did it himself one time, just paid me, but I didn't have to call anybody, or I tried to, but I didn't want to answer 1,000 questions about the unit.
Exactly, and that's another thing. It's just like, well, I'm not really obligated to you, but I'm obligated to my customer, who is your customer, and for them to get the work done, you need this information. But you should have already had this information when you took their money, you already should have known. You should have got the model and serial number at that point. That way, somebody would be on file. But now I got to be on hold for 2 hours to give you that information.
Yeah, it sucks. It
really does. So, and in some of them, if the unit is too old, they will deny the claim because of age.
Yep, that's right.
And I've had a customer that happened to before.
Age or lack of maintenance. Got to be one of them.
Yeah. Age or lack of maintenance.
Never lack of age.
Yeah. So what we got coming up now, Zach?
Well, speaking of air conditioning, I don't know. We're doing part 2 of Jim Bergmann here, coming up here in just a second. Or what I call is the best part.
The best part.
I like the second part.
Yeah, I listened to the first part today, and it was pretty good. And the second part, I'm trying to remember what was in it, but.
Well, the second part, I don't want to ruin anything, but he gets more into measure quick and talks about some other stuff.
Oh,
so
yeah, that's
we'll
right.
see.
That's right. That's where the first part cut off, was where the last word of the first part was measure quick.
That's right. So I figured that would be a good
had to
segue.
listen to it really well.
Yeah, that's right.
And
it was trailing
really
off.
well because it was fading.
Yeah.
So you could barely hear it.
Measure quick, and I was like, don't. Stay tuned next week, Here we are. And here we are. It's next week, and we're talking to Jim Bergmann, part 2.
Let's get on with it. So we know where Jim came from, but where is Jim going?
Well, I guess probably the biggest thing is, I started when the whole thing fell apart at iManifold. We decided, I was a primary owner of TrueTech when I sold that company to really get things going with iManifold, and it just didn't work out. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to work for anybody again.
Right.
I told my wife the day that things fell apart there, I got calls from everybody from Parker to Emerson to you name it. Hey, would you be interested in putting an application with us coming to work for us or whatever? And I'm like, told my wife, you know what? I can get a job anywhere. I know I can get a job. I'm going to go back into business for myself. And I've got obviously some partners in the business because for me, it was real important, the guys I was working with, that they didn't end up where we were at again either.
Right.
And that was sort of starting from scratch. So we decided we'd start our own company up and get things rolling. And the last, it's got to be 6-8 months now, I guess, because that was November. So, we've been cranking away at programming and looking at what we could do that was different and that hadn't been done in the industry before, because everybody's been, it's like, where do you go after you do a project like I just got done with? We had to sit back and we had other things to deal with. We had, non-competes we had to deal with and things like that. And we wanted to honor those. And so we're thinking, okay, well, what can we do next? So, a couple of things we looked at right away was, we built this great tool and nobody knew what to do with it. So right there is probably the biggest problem we saw right away was we could build the most sophisticated tool on the market. It may as well, launch rockets for all it matters. But if nobody's going to use it for what we engineered it for, it doesn't make much difference.
Right.
So that's where we decided that the entire industry was sort of having the same problem, is that everybody knows how to make a measurement, but nobody knows what to do with it. Guys, when I'm saying that is they understand how to measure wet bulb and dry bulb or temperature, relative humidity, or they understand how to measure pressures or maybe, some guys quite a few understand how to calculate superheat and subcooling but you ask most guys what's going on with their micron gauge when they valve it off and the micron gauge starts rising. They go, I got a leak. It's like, well, maybe you have a leak. Maybe you don't have a leak. Maybe you just got, it's like people don't know what to do with the measurement, and they get frustrated because they don't know what to do with the measurement. So we decided what we would do is make a universal measurement operating system, and reach out to a lot of these manufacturers that are making Bluetooth tools, and even look at acquiring a few of them if we could, which we're working on now. We actually acquired a company called Redfish. They're the electrical meter company.
All right.
And they had a patent that was pretty solid on measurement, on a Bluetooth equipped measurement systems. And we decided, you know what, we're gonna court some other manufacturers. So I reached out to, I can't tell you who they are just because we have some NDAs and stuff out there, but I reached out to some of the bigger companies that are making Bluetooth tools, and courted them into working with us on this universal measurement OS. And basically what we're going to be doing is for the framework that we're building this thing out. I don't know if you guys have seen the BlueVac app. If you downloaded it, you actually, if on Google Play and Android, we have the BlueVac application. Even if you don't own the tool, it's worth downloading the app, because we have a lot of training materials in there, and a lot of we have a feed built into the app. So basically we can push down content to the user in the field at any time without doing an app update. And so what we're providing is educational material in the application, so that as guys ask questions and they, we see things, we want to provide them with education about things, we can actually dump that down to them. But the other thing that we're doing that's completely different is we're making all these tools diagnostic tools at a fundamental measurement level. So like in the new BlueVac app we built, it shows you, first of all, how to hook up your vacuum rig. Then it shows you as it's pulling down the vacuum, it tells you when you need to close your gas ballast on your vacuum pump. It tells you when it hits the target, it goes below the target for its defined time. It tells you then when to isolate your core tools. And then it tells you if you have a leak in the system, or if it's just natural decay, and if you need to continue the evacuation, or if the evacuation is complete. And it does it all without the user having to interact with the device. So they literally just turn the device on, and the app's doing all this stuff in the background, so that you don't have to spend a week learning about all the things the vacuum gauge does before you can actually start to be productive with it. And we're doing the same thing with like electrical meters. How many guys use an electrical meter? They measure voltage, and you ask them, well, why are you measuring voltage at the disconnector? Why are you measuring at the contactor? Well, see what it is. Well, what are you going to do if it's too low or too high? Are you going to adjust the voltage regulator screw in a fuse box? What are you going to be doing? And it's like, well, what is too high or too low? What's acceptable?
Right.
If the suction pressure is too low, are you going to go adjust the suction pressure regulator screw? It's right behind the spindle thorp.
There's like 10 guys looking for these things right now.
Yeah, right now.
But I mean,
you got a video on that, Jim?
Yeah, seriously. But think about 90% of the industry. If they're using a check sheet, they're making all these measurements. Their boss tells them, go out there and measure suction pressure, measure liquid pressure, measure this, calculate your superheat. Well, most guys don't know if it's too high or too low, or if their suction pressure is too high or too low, or the discharge pressure is too high or too low. And Zack was one of the first guys out there to actually not only use the iManifold, but try and figure out what it did. So he was like figuring out,
he was working in his closet after dark.
Oh gosh, I have pages full of things. It looks like the guy from Beautiful Mind is writing on my wall or something, trying to figure out the different equations.
Yeah, but you're one of the only guys that, not everybody does that. Not everybody tries to figure out, how's he figuring out what those suction pressures are and what those, if you think somebody's got to know, right? Somebody's got to know how all that stuff works. And, but most guys in the industry, like I said, they know how to make measurements, but they don't know what to do with them. And so that's the whole premise behind this new product we're making, is not only we're going to show you how to make the measurement, but we're going to help you do something with it. So Measure Quick is about doing something with measurements, and beyond what we've done in the past. And it's not just about pressure, temperature, humidity. It's also, it's about electrical, it's about vacuum, it's about airflow and velocity, blower doors, duct testers, everything out there. And so I think, it's a huge undertaking, because when you get into programming, like, heck, we've been working on this thing for 8 months now. We just got the app done for the Blue Vac, and we were working on Redfish before that. So we got some stuff coming out very quickly. You'll see the first version of Measure Quick out. I'm thinking probably in the next month or so, we'll have the first version of Measure Quick out in the market.
Now, with that app, can the guys just use that app as a standalone?
Yeah, well, it'll be like, sort of like, what do you want to, it'll walk you through a process. So, but it won't, it'll guide you through, but it won't require you to do something. So let's say you want to just test a capacitor.
Right.
So it's gonna show you how to test a capacitor. It's gonna, visually show you a picture, disconnect the capacitor. The meter's gonna detect when it's sent to capacitance. Then you're gonna enter in the capacitor's value. You're going to put the meter across it, and it's going to tell you whether the capacitor is good or bad, because it's going to, it's going to look at plus or minus 10% of the capacitance. It's going to tell you whether it's in that range or not. Then it's going to have you hook it back up, and it's going to show you how to measure voltage across the capacitor. It's going to record the voltage. You clamp it on to measure the amperage. It's going to measure the amperage. It's going to test the capacitor under a load. So we're going to test the capacitor, bench test it, and then we're going to load test it. And we're going to make sure that when we load test it, it's good. But here's the thing that most guys don't think about. When you make a voltage reading, it's that meter's plus or minus so many volts.
Right.
And when you make a current reading, it's plus or minus so many amps, right? So there's what's called uncertainty in your measurement. Well, right. You have to account for that, because when we bench test it, it's actually probably a more accurate measure of the capacitance than when we load test it, because when we load test it, we have a voltage, we have a current we have to account for, and there's uncertainty in both those measurements, and the combined uncertainty now becomes the total uncertainty, and you have to include that in your measurement. So Measure Quick's going to do those calculations for you, and it's going to say, okay, the capacitor's testing good, or the capacitor has failed, right? And it's going to walk you through how to test compressors, how to test capacitors, even things like when you go out to an air conditioner, you test the no load voltage, and then you start it up and you test the voltage under a load. What's the allowable voltage drop in the line? How many percent, right? Most guys don't know that. They'll measure the voltage and they'll go, oh, it's, it is what it is. It's 119 volts, but that conductor in the basement has just become a big old resistive heater, because it's undersized. And, the conductors are getting hot in your disconnect, and those hot conductors in your disconnect are changing the amp rating on your fuse, because now the fuses are getting hot. And the fuses are intermittently blowing on 90-degree days, because somebody didn't understand in the first place there's an undersized conductor in the, from the panel to the disconnect, and that's what's causing the issue. So we're gonna walk people through how to do, test those things, identify those problems. Now, whether or not they fix them is totally up to them. You're going to get customers out there that said, well, it's been that way for 15 years and it's going to be that way for another 15 years. And I'll change the fuse if I got to change the fuse. If I have problems, then we're leaving billable hours on the table, and we're not fully giving the customer all the options that they deserve to get, because there's customers out there that'll tell you, shoot, that feed wire's undersized, go ahead and change it.
Right.
Now, I can't have that fuse blowing. My mom's got a heart condition. If that thing goes down in 100-degree day and I got to wait 3 weeks for service, or, even over a weekend for service, we got problems.
So you acquired the Redfish.
Yep.
Are you looking to acquire other?
Yeah, I've got another company I'm in the works of acquiring right now, and I'll announce it one of these days here when we get it done. We slowed down a little bit. We were moving forward pretty quickly with the acquisition, and we just slowed down a little bit just because we were trying to get this app done for AccuTools for the Blue Vac, and we just made that a priority, and just set some other stuff aside so we could get that done. I mean, I've got six programmers and myself and a couple other partners. So we got about 10 people at the company right now overall. And just, even though you got that many people, when you got projects this big, it takes everybody's full attention.
Right.
So
Right.
so it's one of those things where you can either do a lot of things and drag them out and and do them half-assed, or you can focus on one thing at a time and get it done right.
That's what I said about some of these tool manufacturers.
Mm-hmm.
Quit making so many different tools. Stick with what you know.
Yeah, well, it's I don't know. I mean, it's I think when you look at what most people don't know, I think if you understood how big Testo was and how many R&D engineers they have there, I mean, they're huge. They're a big company. And so when they come out with stuff all the time, they're well within their bandwidth of doing it.
Right.
They got a team. I mean, when I worked there, they had over 100 R&D engineers,
Wow.
PhD level engineers. I mean, I worked for, I want to say the guy's name was von Straber, Jörg von Straber. And he owned the copy, or the patents for Xerox for color copiers.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, these guys aren't. They're really high engineers. Now, do they have HVAC experience? No, but they're solid engineers. So they rely on obviously marketing people to tell them what they want, and they engineer what the marketing want.
Right.
That's why we see some of the problems we see today. But I mean, there's a lot of talent. I'm just telling you, there's a lot of talent out there.
Yeah. Now, where can everybody find you as far as like YouTube and the website?
Yeah, YouTube. We have a website. We have measurequick.com. We have redfishinstruments.com. And then obviously email, Jim Bergmann 5@gmail.com is my personal email. And then jbergmann@redfishinstruments.com. And then obviously cell phone, that's on the website and on there. So anybody can call me if they need to call me for anything. But I always make myself available. So.
Right. And like I said before, you gave me a whole new respect for you as a person, by answering my call after, I bashed that stupid tool, So it gave me a whole new respect for you.
Yeah, that was, I think that was one of the most polarizing tools our industry's ever experienced.
But that was the best thing you ever did as far as that tool goes. To put it out like you did, put it in the hands of some of the people you put it in the hands of, because I mean, look at the attention that it was given before it was really even out.
Yeah, it was interesting. I tell you, it was when you design something like that, it's your baby. I mean, you like, but trying to get everybody up to. Like I was so passionate about what we were doing, about measuring BTUs on the air conditioner and being able, it's like, this is what you need to be looking at, because everything you do, there's nothing you're going to do that's going to make that air conditioner output more BTUs than it's designed for. That's ultimately
right.
And so what that means is everything you do wrong is going to degrade its output.
Right.
Right. And so it was, for me, it was like, for the first time, it's like, you're either going to see that what you're doing is spot on and you're going to get full output of that air conditioner, or you're going to see that that what you're doing is not right and you're not going to get full capacity out of the air conditioner.
Right.
What I didn't anticipate was nobody in the industry knowing there's 12,000 BTUs in a ton, or 400 CFM ton standard airflow, or
400 CFM, not in my house, buddy.
He's right, though. I mean, we go through all the stuff like our videos we make, Ralph, and we're troubleshooting stuff on there. We say, well, TXV responds like this, piston responds like this, and then some guy says, well, what's a TXV? Not prepared for the basic question, because you figure everyone already knew that, but they don't.
Yeah, we take it for granted. And I do that a lot. I take things for granted when I am making a video, that I'm talking to a guy like Zack as I'm making it, forgetting about the guy who's just starting out in the field or wants to go to school and not know, what the simplest thing that I would think would be simple.
Right.
But he just doesn't know. And he wants to know more, more about it. But what I liked about, with that product was that I was able to make a video of a dirty coil and show how just washing the coil changed. You know how it changed its capacity just by washing the coil.
Yeah, and that's kind of stuff. I mean, I do every single day. I mean, when I'm out there, you know, when I was out testing that, and I test a lot of stuff. I mean, I was constantly looking at impact of, you know, operation, appreciating that. But you know, the other thing that we found out real quickly was people didn't realize air conditioning capacity varied with load. You know, we found out people don't have a clue about. In fact, I would care to say that the Department of Energy, the CEC, California Energy Commission, Energy Star, almost the entire industry doesn't understand sensible latent split. And when I say this, what I mean is whenever we drop airflow on a piece of equipment, we shift from sensible cooling to latent cooling. Mm-hmm. Yet everybody in the industry is measuring total cooling. They're always measuring total BTUs. Right. Well, I can have an air conditioner that's doing total BTUs at 425 CFM a ton, and I can have one that's doing total capacity at 350 CFM per ton. I can have one doing total capacity at 300 CFM per ton. But the amount of sensible cooling that the system is doing drops dramatically as we drop the airflow, right? It goes from, like at 400, we say we're at 70%, and, you know, 70% sensible and 75% sensible, excuse me. And then when we get down to like 350, we might be at 60%. Sensible capacity, right? That means 40% of it's latent cooling. Well, we don't have anything in our house called a comfort stat. We have a thermostat. The only thing that thermostat responds to is temperature. So even though we have full BTUs of cooling going to that air conditioner, if we drop our sensible cooling down, it's going to take longer to satisfy that thermostat. And in fact, if we can't satisfy the sensible load, that air conditioner will run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, trying to control the sensible temperature. And even though it feels comfortable in our house, maybe the house, you know, it's set at 72, but now it's 74, 75, but it's, you know, 30, 40% relative humidity. You don't realize that the temperature's high in your house because you're still comfortable, but the unit's never cycling off. It's running around the clock trying to satisfy the sensible load. We haven't taught the guys in the industry that every single thing we do to increase our sensible capacity is going to decrease runtime on that system, and that's where we're going to save money. And so as an industry, we got to stop looking at total capacity, and we got to look at the sensible latent split, because you do have latent load, and you do have to design and control for that, especially like Ralph in your area where you got a ton of humidity to deal with. If you don't consider the latent load, you get a cold and clammy home.
Well, let me tell you, I have totally changed mine. The operation of my house. I mean, it is totally, but I had to put an inverter in to do it.
Yep. But you're also, that system's probably never shutting off. It's running almost around the clock, but it's running a really low capacity.
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, I went from 70 degrees at almost 60% humidity to 76 and 77 at 49%. And my bill, right. Look, I Georgia Power sends me a daily email about how much power I've used. Mm-hmm. And when I get an email that says, hey, you used $3 yesterday. You spent $3 yesterday. I'm like, hell yeah. Because last month my bill was $83.
Right.
And you feel fantastic, right?
And I feel fantastic. Sometimes I have to cover up because it's so cold in my house.
That's age related there.
Yeah, that's what John said.
Well, and people forget too that you don't have to have air in every single room to feel comfortable. You know, like you can have as long heat travels from hot to cold and humidity travels from high to low.
Right.
And you know, a couple of ceiling fans and an inverter system, you know, you might need one or two heads, and you can take care of an entire house without having to. Yeah. Without having to have a vent in every single room. And once you move that ductwork, you know, get rid of that ductwork. And now probably the biggest thing is you don't have any duct losses. You're just cooling the air in your house instead of cooling the air underneath your house, or, you know, depressurizing rooms and changing things. It's just, you know, getting rid of that duct system is probably the biggest savings, believe it or not, probably more than the inverter is.
Oh, right. Now,
should have got a Mitsubishi, Ralph.
Oh yeah, I should have done a 5 head at the house, but you know.
Yeah, well, I put my office in the office I'm sitting in here. I have a mini split and a radiant 4 heat. So I just I took a refrigeration heat exchanger,
Right.
and used my hot water tank to separate, through the heat exchanger. I have a little pump on one side of my hot water tank, goes in out the top and bottom of the hot water tank. The other side feeds my radiant floor, and I run my hot water tank at about 117 degrees in the wintertime, and heat the room over my garage with radiant floor.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, just use the hot water tank. Been doing that for about 10 years right now, and instead of putting a boiler in, I just did that. Works really good.
Use what you already have.
Hey, why not? It's paid for. Hot water tank's long paid for.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. That's good.
Doesn't cost a whole lot to run, neither does it.
No, but the mini split is great too. I mean, it can't get better cooling than that.
Oh yeah,
So-
I always tell people it's the one that I do have in the house. It's the most comfortable room in the whole house. Now that was before I did the 5-stage. Now it's giving it a close run for its money, but it definitely it's the best cooling you can put in your house. It's a mini split.
Yeah, and it's definitely more economical to run, as you're finding out too.
Oh my God, yeah. I have 2 mini splits and that 5-stage running, and I'm, like I said, running about $3 a day.
Yeah,
With single pane windows.
Wow.
So yeah, so it really has done a tremendous job. So anyway,
well, can I answer any more questions for you guys?
Well, let's see. We had this whole list of questions ready for you, but I think we answered pretty much all of them here. I think one of the questions I would have is the Measure Quick app going to be all-inclusive? I mean, do you click on one app? Because you said you have a BlueVac app. Is it going to be all in one app in the future?
So we have a couple different products we're offering. In fact, AccuTools is our first customer for the Powered by Measure Quick. So we're making, when you see Powered by Measure Quick, means we're using the Measure Quick framework, and which is our universal measurement OS, to power an app for a manufacturer that's a standalone application. So the BlueVac app we made for Core Enterprise is the name of the company, the guys that own the BlueVac. We made that app for them, and that's private labeled for them. It's got their name, their stuff. We're maintaining it for them, but that they can sell their BlueVac and you can use that app. It's a free download, and use it independent of MeasureQuick. Now, if you download MeasureQuick, you're going to find out it has almost exactly the same UI, user interface, and UX, as user experience, as the BlueVac does, because we leveraged technology that we're building into MeasureQuick to power this app for AccuTools. So we got other manufacturers too we're making apps for that are powered by MeasureQuick, and like our Redfish app will be powered by a MeasureQuick app, so that if you're using a Redfish meter and you don't want to use MeasureQuick, you can use it independent. Now, MeasureQuick is also a free download, but MeasureQuick's going to do analytics, and it's also going to have a service tied to it. And the service will be, things like cloud storage. It'll be remote connecting, remote reading of the tools, being able to do things with that data, maybe generate reports, do checklists, like customized checklists for your company, so that if you're using a check sheet and you want all your guys to do the check sheet, and it pulls the data off the Bluetooth tools into the check sheet, so nobody has to write down the data, so their work is faster. It pulls in the customer names and addresses, so they're not having to jot all that information down. It stores information about the company, the customer, all that stuff in the cloud. So your guys basically, instead of spending their time writing down all this information about the system and filling out paperwork, they can actually just spend their time doing diagnostics and making measurements and using the MeasureQuick engine. MeasureQuick is going to be a paid service. So you'll subscribe to MeasureQuick. I haven't even finished up pricing and that kind of stuff yet to tell you what it is, but somebody will subscribe to that, and it's a productivity tool. So if you've got multiple service techs, that kind of stuff. It does a couple things. It allows you to build an asset base because you're storing all this knowledge about system operation in the cloud, about your customers. And it also allows you to make your guys more productive and eliminate callbacks and other things like that. So for somebody that subscribes to MeasureQuick, they're going to get a lot more benefits, but the core MeasureQuick product you'll be able to use on its own. So we'll have a lot of features, like probably diagnostics is something anybody's going to be able to use. So if you want to use MeasureQuick and use it to help you diagnose equipment, we're going to make that, part
Jim,
free.
If you included an invoicing program,
that was the next question right there. Good job, Ralph.
I just was like, I was listening to all that, and I was like, the only thing missing from that,
if he crosses over into business,
if he crosses over into the business side for like guys like, well, not even guys like me. I mean, anybody could use an invoice.
Yeah, we've kicked that around, and I've thought about whether we want to partner with somebody on that, because there's some big players out there that are doing that kind of stuff. They're doing fleet management, and but they're also doing things like upselling and doing all kinds of like flat rate pricing and all that kind of stuff. And it's like trying to figure out if there's a nice balance point, whether if we just do invoicing and it does a basic invoice and you got to put in your parts and you got to put in your cost or whatever, that's one thing. But if you're talking about managing your fleet and you're talking about
just
flat rate pricing and all that kind of stuff,
right?
You're talking like Service Titan or some of these big companies out there that do that kind of stuff. They probably have 100 programmers working on that kind of stuff.
Right.
And we could do something like that. And the other thing you can do is you can partner with somebody like that, but then, it becomes, where's that balance at, where you get the right number of subscribe, where you get enough subscribers.
Where's your return on investment?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Because what people don't realize is, we put an app out there, when we have, I have a whole team of programmers out there.
Right.
And we make a free application.
It's not free.
How does that pay the programming team?
Exactly.
How does that pay me? How does that pay anybody?
I know when I talked to Sporland originally, and they were like, they had their the app out for Apple, but they didn't have it out for Google yet, because he's like, look, we want to make sure this thing. I mean, it's $40,000 to create that app.
Yeah.
So that would have been.
That was a real basic.
It really was.
Basic.
It really was.
App. Yeah. When you look at the UI and the UX on that compared to like what we did for AccuTools for this vacuum app, if you guys get a chance, download that and play with it. I mean, I would say, if you took a basic app like any of the ones you see out there today, they're maybe a 3 to 4 as far as what they do, and we're at a 9 to 10 as far as scales go, as far as you're going to compare and contrast what they do versus what we're doing.
And and when I went to go see Sporland last year, you actually came up, and I told him, I said, one of the reasons that at that time the iManifold was so successful was because of you. You were like the driving force behind it, and your customer support was so much better, available to whoever called you, whenever they called. You people, by the videos you put out or put out at the time, and that was one of the major things that made the iManifold so successful. You were on HVAC Talk and all these other social media things.
Well, I would say what I did is I took ownership of it.
Right, exactly.
And that's for a lot of guys, they're a manager or a product manager, but when they go home, they're home.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, this is like a sickness. I eat, breathe, and live. I love this stuff. So, right. It's a hobby. People say, what's your hobby? My hobby's cooking and HVAC.
Right.
That's what I like doing.
Oh, we were going to touch on some of the cooking you did, but I think
that was going to be our light airy finish.
Yep.
Yeah, we are an hour and a half into this.
Well, we just split it up like we normally do.
Yep.
Yeah. But it's been a good interview. I really enjoyed this one.
All right. Well, hey, yeah. Well, I am into cooking. In fact, I just did a whole bunch of wings today for the kids. So
Wow.
we did.
I'm more into the brisket.
I've done quite a few briskets. The only thing I don't like doing about briskets is the 13 to 18 hours it takes to cook them, because I usually cook mine on a smoker, and I use charcoal for everything.
And you had to babysit it.
Yeah, well, I don't mind babysitting as long as I can drink bourbon at the same time. I'm cooking brisket.
Yeah.
That's what other people don't know about me, is I like bourbon quite a bit. So, not that I drink it every day, I don't drink to get drunk. I just like the taste of bourbon.
You just like the taste of bourbon.
Yep. So, but there's nothing wrong with smoking a brisket and sipping a bourbon on the back porch. So
some other guys might say something.
No, sounds pretty idealistic to me. That sounds great.
Yeah, no, I mean that's how you clear your thoughts and you come up with great ideas. Is you clear your mind.
Mine's usually in the shower, and Jim's is smoking a brisket.
Yeah,
Jim comes up with his best ideas lousy with bourbon.
Right.
Yeah. So
it's third shot.
Well, so yeah, but I like I don't know. I've always liked cooking. Now I like cooking big pieces of meat too. Like I'll cook whole tenderloin or a whole like a typical steak for me is probably 2.5 to 3 inches thick.
You mean
like
a roast?
A porterhouse yeah,
that's pretty much a roast. Yeah.
Good grief.
Yeah. Well, I'll cook one steak for one steak will feed 4 people. So, but I like doing big pieces of meat like that.
You go to Jim's house, you have to. He supplies you with a T-shirt after the meal.
Yeah. I don't think anybody could eat one of those. I mean, when you're dropping a typical steak, a single steak is like, and I go to we have a little butcher here, so it's like $35 to $45 just for.
Yeah. Oh, wow, that's a hell of a meal.
But people go, how the heck do you cook that stuff? And it's like, well, it takes about 2 hours.
Low and slow.
Yep.
Low and slow.
Yep. That's it. You know the secret. So.
Oh yeah. But yeah, no, I this really was a good interview. I really enjoyed it.
Good. I got to go let my chickens in anyway and go collect eggs. So.
Yeah, same deal here. I guess that's
unlike
a good segue.
lab, this is only a 3 or 4 minute job. I'm not going to have to spend the evening out there collecting eggs.
Steve's probably chasing his chickens right now, as we speak.
He probably is, but more of choice than duty, I'm sure.
Yeah,
he just enjoys it.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
I've enjoyed this.
Yep, it's nice talking to you guys, and we'll do it again.
Yes, sir. We'll have you back here in a month or two.
All right, sounds good.
Take care.
Stay tuned this Friday on the Working Joe's podcast as we talk to Jason from the iManifold Group.